Hello, 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 everyone. Good morning to you, good afternoon, or good evening to you, depending on when you watch this, or depending on what part of the world that you're watching, because you know we're international, right? So you are watching Get Into It, live chats with Kimberly Willis, and we are talk about cancer conversations. We talk to doctors. We talk to survivors, we talk to caregivers because this thing called cancer is like an ugly beast, and we need to have those serious conversations. I am your host and wellness advocate, Kimberly Willis, and I have a special connection to cancer because I had stage 3 breast cancer myself. And do you know today is a special day for me? I finished a year-long active treatment. I finished my last dose of radiation on this day, May 9th, back in 2018. So this is my 4th anniversary, guys. I'm so excited. Can you feel it? Can you feel the excitement with me? Come on, drop the hearts, drop a comment, and give me a congrats on that. I'm really excited about what I'm able to do as an advocate, some of the things that I offer as an advocate. As I'm an author, I wrote 2 books to help inspire and encourage just everyone who deals with this thing called cancer. I also offer survivors wear, and you can get shirts like these right down on my website. You see it, survivorscorner.net, and you can follow me on Instagram and on Facebook and on YouTube, on all those various channels. But I don't stop there. I also help you smell good, y'all. I have fragrances for both men and women. And again, I just do all of that because I believe to have products and services for cancer survivors, because we need to support our community. So enough about me. I want to make sure that you like, comment, and share this show, because you do not want to miss the guest that I'm getting ready to introduce. We got our first doctor on here, guys. We just keep going up higher and higher. And I'm so honored to have her on here. We have Dr. Ingrid Wilson-Johnson on the show today. And I'm going to read a little bit of her bio before we get into it. All right. So, Dr. Ingrid Wilson-Johnson is a board certified obstetrician, gynecologist, and certified health coach. She is born and raised in River Rouge, Michigan, and she is a lifelong resident of the city. After her graduation from River Rouge High School, her journey began at Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia. Shout out to all the HBCUs. And her pursuit of a medical degree led her continuing her education at Stanford University, right in Palo Alto, California. She was a practicing OBGYN for 30 years, guys. And just last year, she just retired after delivering over 3,000 babies and impacting the lives of many women. She continues to create a atmosphere for women to take charge of their lives and have optimal health. She doesn't stop there. She has a new venture that is called Positive Circle for Health and Wellness. Dr. Wilson Johnson lives by the saying, to whom much is given, much is required. And she believes in service and works in her community. She is a member of the Pentecostal Missionary Baptist Church and is a member of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Let me say that one more time. The Delta Sigma Theta sorority incorporated, and she is a part of the Inkster alumni chapter. She is currently serving as the president of Project 22, a 501c3 organization which provides funding and for community projects and student scholarships. Following in her mother's footsteps, she served over 10 years in the River Rouge School Board and continues to support the school district. She is married to Larry Johnson, and they have 3 beautiful children, Sharia, Latasha, and Larry I. Johnson, and have 3 wonderful grandchildren, Peyton, Parker, and Logan. She loves to travel and has visited many lighthouses and aquariums in multiple states, and her goal is to visit all 50 states. Without further ado, I want to introduce everyone to Dr. Ingrid Wilson Johnson. Hello.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Good yourself. It's so
I'm
good to have
wonderful.
you join us today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Again, I'm going to say it again. Make sure all my roses, make sure that you like, comment, and share, because this is going to be a powerful show. to be able to get someone who is able to give a professional outlook on cancer and just women's health in general, but then also a personal experience about how cancer is for a caregiver and even a child. So we're just going to jump right into it. First, we want to talk about, tell us your journey on becoming a doctor and highlight some of the challenges that you had to face in getting your degrees.
Okay, I always wanted to be a physician since high school. I was a part of the health careers program at my high school and then continued on into college. Although it was a long journey, which people always get deterred by the fact that before I actually practiced medicine, it was 15 years from high school. So
Mm,
the journey is somewhat extended, but if it's something that you really want, it's really worth going through the time.
mhm.
Those things delayed gratification normally comes up to something that you really want to accomplish. So even though it seemed like a long journey, it was definitely beneficial for me to obtain the goal that I had set out to do. Um, Going from home to Atlanta
Mhm.
was definitely an experience, leaving home. Um, but having the support system, my time at Spelman was definitely supportive. I've had friends from the initial onset who are also physicians who actually we've gone together through the journey. So that was an awesome experience to have them. We're still friends today, and we've always supported each other as we continued on our journeys in different pathways, different locations, but always trying to become the physicians that we wanted to be. Stanford, again, was an awesome opportunity. Again, 3,000 miles away from home, but
Mhm.
it was definitely worth the opportunity. My dad drove me there, and it was like, oh, you're going to leave me here. But it was an experience, and I got to live on the other part of the country. So it was a great journey. And then coming back home after med school to pursue my career in OBGYN here locally was a great opportunity to return home and then to again service the people that I grew up with and in the area that I live.
That's good. You know, it's one thing about belonging to a HBCU. I haven't went to one, but just multiple people that I've known has been there, has lifelong friendships, and just a supportive community as well as a sorority. So if you're in a sorority or a fraternity, I highly suggest it because the relationships that you get out of it is very helpful, not only professionally but personally as well. We can dive into that support system on on different family things that you had to go through personally that was rough. We can highlight that a little bit too. But I want to know, from going from Michigan to Georgia and then to California, why did you come back home to the cold?
Actually, I've been back over 30 years back home. Definitely wasn't my first choice. I could say I didn't really want to come back. I got married my last year of medical school, and my husband really wanted to come back to Michigan. So that was our decision to make. I'm still holding him to the fact that I can leave at some point. Although over 30 years we've been back and we've not made that move, although we always threaten, we're leaving, we're leaving, we're leaving.
Mhm.
But he wanted to come back home, and so we decided to come back home and share that part of our lives with our families and being close to them. So it has actually worked out beneficially. We've enjoyed it. Although we do enjoy traveling, so we try to leave Michigan and the cold as much as we can.
Absolutely. You have to. I know Michigan has its beaches, but it's not the same as California's or Florida's or even abroad. It's just not the same. You had talked about uh, life, love, and family. So you said that you were with your husband the last year of your medical school year. So tell us about how you manage a career raising a family. So you are a mom of three. How was that like? Um, Having a relationship and then having kids and having a career as a doctor is an aggressive schedule.
Yeah, very aggressive schedule. I think it's very important. My partner choice, he's been with me for over my 30 years of practice and definitely was an asset to have him supporting me and being there for me. I truly believe in the village. It's something my
Mhm.
mother always says, it takes a village, and definitely my village came through for me, whether it was my family, my mother helping me with my kids, or my village fellow people in the community, fellow mothers, as we shared, transporting our kids to different places. I couldn't always be there. And I always, in telling my residents, you got to have you a list. I had a list, 6 people they knew. If I couldn't come home, I had all these people to call in order to make sure my kids were taken care of. But then again, making it a priority. I did a lot of things that after being retired, I didn't really realize how busy I was because I was also doing other things while working at the school, at the community, doing different things. But it's just about making a priority and being a good manager of your time. And I think being a good manager, but also having a great village. My village is awesome. And I'm very thankful. So at this point, I become the village. So I want to make sure that I'm there to help other people obtain their goals by being a part of their village.
That's good. Talk about your children a little bit. Tell me about the influence that you believe that your life has made on them. So, with you not only having a professional career as a doctor, but then also being involved in the community. I know your family is very community based. Tell me about how you believe that your life with you and your husband has impacted your children.
I think we're great examples, and I think we're great examples on a lot of different fronts. Our marriage is put forth as an example, the individuals we are, the community service. I say that I follow in my mother's footsteps, and sometimes you wonder if that's a good thing or a bad thing because she was always busy. I was always busy, and now I see it in my children.
Mhm.
They're always busy. They're always doing things. They're always serving. They're always working in the community, and it becomes it's a challenge. But when you sit back and look at it, I think that you feel like it's rewarding. It's definitely rewarding, and I think as they seen me go through it, as I saw my mother do it, I think that they consider it a great honor to be able to repeat those same things in their lives.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing about being busy, because I'm a very busy person as well,
Right.
you have to really make sure that you prioritize yourself as well as the family, but have that self-care because in order to go, you have to refuel yourself. So some people think that
Definitely.
it doesn't take all that to be involved in so many things. And you know what, this path isn't for everyone. Some people are good with just doing one, in our Christian faith that talks about the many talents. Some people could just only handle one talent, while other people's can have
Mhm.
handle like 5 talents. So, depending on what level that you have, don't talk about the other. Don't talk about the one who only has one. Don't talk about the other one who only has 5, because in your case, you're able to juggle having a career,
Mm.
making sure that you were still present in your kid's life and having that great influence, but then also giving back. I think it's very important that your community saw what a doctor looks like, saw what a mother looks like, saw what a wife looks like. So kudos to you and your husband for putting out that image, not only for your children to see, but for your church family to see, but then also your community to see as well. So let's dive in a little bit more into your OBGYN world. Now, I know everything wasn't always great with delivering the babies. However, as an OBGYN, part of your job is also to do like annual checkups for women. So you have to do pap smears and breast exams and things of those natures. I would assume that you've had some situations where some of the news was abnormal, some of the test results was abnormal, and or you may have found a lump and then you had to send them to take further testing. Tell us, dive into that. As a doctor, what is your preparation when you have to deliver not so great news to an individual and your emotional journey through that?
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. You don't always get to give the most positive news. Sometimes you do have to give that news that's not going to be welcome. But I think that in my practice and me as an individual, I was always there supportive. And also the fact that sometimes it's not good news. You might have to give, the patient is not handling it well. And
Mhm,
sometimes you may even have to control your emotions.
mhm,
But a lot of times I let my emotions shine through as well. Let them
mhm,
know that I'm human, just like you are, even though I'm giving you this news, I'm feeling it as well. I'm feeling the hurt. I'm feeling the journey that you're going to go through. So I think sitting there, making sure that you're talking, being there for them, being receptive, and not just giving the news, but waiting for the response and
Mm-hmm.
then dealing with their response as well. A lot of times you don't want to walk out of the room after dropping a bombshell on someone.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure that you're there, giving them the resources. Call me back if you need something. So making sure you're extending that whole news, but also the support. So I have to be ready. And then I know I can walk out of the room and I can break down,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't do that necessarily in front of them. And sometimes I might
Mm-hmm.
um, let them know that I can feel you. But then I know I go out the door and I can close the door and then regroup myself because I got to then go on to the next journey for
Right.
them as far as preparing them to go to the next doctor, the next test,
Mm-hmm.
whatever they might need.
I love that you show your human side. Um, my dad calls that bedside manner.
Yeah.
He has really talked about making sure that we are with a provider that really cares about you. I think it's really important to
Yeah.
have a good relationship. You don't have to be like best friends with your provider. However, I think it's you need to be linked with someone who really cares about your health and you're not seen as another number. But and vice versa, that the patient doesn't see their doctor as a means to an end. I mean, yes, we need doctors to help us with the different tests and make sure that we're healthy. But I think it's very important to make sure that you're linked up. So for those particular moments that um, the patient is able to feel comforted and to
Mhm.
know that they feel safe with their next journey. And
Mhm.
in fact, it was my OBGYN that told me I had breast cancer. So it's so important to make sure that you have a good relationship, but then also that you are doing the necessary exams to do that. Because again, in my case, I was under 40. So when I saw my provider, I told him I found this lump, and he felt that he was like, you know what, it doesn't feel like it's cancer, but you know what, I'm going to take the next step,
Right.
and I'm going to make sure that we do our due diligence and get the mammogram. So when he told me, he was like, I can't believe it. He was I felt his emotion
Mhm.
across with that as well. And I applaud you for doing that, for showing that human side, because sometimes um the delivery is cold, and that survivor has to really think about, okay, this is a lot going on. Like, I think it's good to be transparent, but then
Mhm.
also it's okay to show the human side as well. I absolutely love that. You said in your bio about one of your favorite sayings, that about to whom much is given, much is required. Talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Uh, it's one thing to think out. A lot of times you think about all the things you want to get in life, all the things I want to get. But I think it's very important for me. It's very important to give. You can't give too much because once you give, you're always return that you're getting something in return for that.
Mhm.
So I've always had that adage, and my mother has always been supportive in that the fact that you can't have too much
Mhm.
that you can't give out some. You
Yeah.
always have to have your hands open to give. And so I've kind of lived by that. And I've not been at a loss. I've not been at a
Wow.
detriment because I gave away. I think that because I've given, I've obtained so much more, which allows me to give more. So I
Yes.
think it's been a win-win for me in that I haven't lost by giving. I think I've mostly gained.
That is so powerful that you have gained through giving. There's some stingy people out there that wants to retain all their information. With you being a Black professional as well, it's an honor to have someone of your stature to be an example for all of us. And sometimes when we see other Black professionals, they hold the information to themselves, their journey of how they got there. Sometimes they keep it to themselves. And for individuals like you who doesn't mind sharing their journey, such as being on a platform like this, or just really just talking about, hey, getting your degree is not easy, but just this is how you can make it when you're faced with this adversity. This is how you can make it, because I think that you're able to gain more because of the fruit that you bore, everything, that all the seeds that you planted in other people's lives. you just got it back from all that. So kudos to you for
Yeah.
giving back to others, because I think it's really important to do so. Now, I got a funny question for you. So, being a doctor, I know that you may get flooded with a lot of questions that may require professional response from family and friends. How do you dodge that bullet, or how do you handle that?
Yeah. I don't necessarily dodge it. I think that I have a conversation, because sometimes these are people you already have relationships with, so that you can hear their plight. But I also make sure that I don't give exact medical advice. I will kind of
Mhm.
encourage you with information. I can share information, but I also want to make sure that you're seeking the right provider that you need, if you need to move forward. Don't just get my answer, but you need to be connected to your own provider as well. So
Mhm.
um, I don't always dodge the questions, but I don't always take them on. I don't become your provider at that
Mhm.
point. I become your information sharer. So I would share
I like that.
information with you, and then encourage you to, one, seek the other help you need, so that I'm not the person that you're taking your care from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think it's important twofold, to make sure there's not a conflict of the information of the doctor, because obviously the doctors has the charts and everything that would give a more sound, a professional opinion on that. But then also, it's a business. Like if they want all this, you can be like, can I obtain your insurance information so then I can get billed for that? So you got two of those things that you you have to juggle with that. We have Pastor LT Willis on here. He says, hands open to give. Thank you for watching today, sir. So, so let's dive into a little bit more into your medical practice. Were there any trends that you saw amongst women that you saw that they needed to pay attention to a little bit more? Is there certain diseases or just certain trends that you saw that women just need to pay attention to more in their health?
Mhm. Of course, breast cancer is one of the ones that's kind of close to my heart, but I think that also we're seeing a definite rise in cervical cancer and cervical abnormalities that could possibly lead to cancer. So I think that having people more aware of that. We've had some changes as far as pap smears and screenings, but pap smears has probably saved more lives than mammograms have. So
Mhm.
I think that it's important that we stay in that realm. But I think the also the issues regarding diabetes and obesity, which are all preventable things, I think that we've seen a rise in them, and I
Mhm.
think we need to see some more basic training that allows people to make those changes early, so that these are not some of the things that you have to deal with later in your life.
Awesome. We have Rhonda Glass that says, awesome, Dr. Ingrid Wilson-Johnson, and gave the rose on there. Thank you for watching, dear. I love it. So I think talking about the pap smears a little bit more, what is the age requirements that a female should start getting those exams?
Yeah. Recently, there have been some changes in that we were only doing them starting at 21.
Hmm.
Previously, we were doing them earlier, but at 21, that we're recommending that you have one. And then as far as how often you're having them, that's been changing over time
Yes,
as
it has.
well. So it gets very confusing for us as physicians, because those of us who were in practice earlier on, prior to all these changes, we were very used to doing the pap smear every year.
Hmm.
Well, then with the new changes, they were saying you don't have to do them every year. But I think it's very important that, one, there's not one set rule for everyone. So
Yeah.
you have to know what your risks are and what your follow up needs to be. And that's something that you can develop with your physician.
Hmm.
But you can't compare your journey with someone else's journey, because that might be different. And also, the recommendations are recommendations, but they're not necessarily fit for everyone. So you have to develop your own treatment plan with
Hmm.
your physician, that, one, allows you to screen yourself best for what your risks are. So I think that that's very important. We were very used to doing them every year, but
Hmm.
I agree that there's no benefit in getting 25 negatives if you could have just done 5 of them and got the same 5 negatives. But I think it's very important that we not try to put all of us into one category and actually individualize your care with you and your physician, developing a plan that's best for you.
That's good. We have your daughter, Latasha Johnson, that says, please help educate mama. I like what you said about creating a treatment plan. Some people think that you need to create a treatment plan after something happens. So after you get diabetes, or after you have heart failure, or after you've been diagnosed with cancer. But I think it's very important to actually have a treatment plan prior to. Speak to someone who's either 18 years old or 21, because those ages have kind of went back and forth too, is when to start getting the pap smear as well. And they may not know what to ask for. So when they are going to the doctors for the first time, how do they approach that conversation?
Yeah. And I think it's very important that everybody thinks that you go to the doctor when you have a problem. Something that I've learned over time is that no, healthcare and wellness is something that you do proactively, not reactively.
Yes.
So I think that we need to, surely I did not learn that in medical school. That was not the way we were taught. But I think that this is something that we need to do as healthcare changes, healthcare costs change. I think we have to be more practical in our control of our lives and our wellness by making these plans and having these conversations early on, as opposed to, like you say, after. When you're coming in early on, young, it's important to have a physician you can talk to. I've talked to a lot of teenagers who are coming in. We don't do exams on them. We just have a conversation. And I think that it's very important for them to, one, not be afraid to come to the gynecologist, so that if they meet you just with a conversation as opposed to with an exam, I think that they'll be more likely to return to have their regular conversations to learn. It's all about learning yourself, learning your body, and then learning what you need to do in order to keep that body well.
That's good. I love that. So parents, encourage your children when they're young to make sure that they see about themselves. You are the example. So if they be upfront, hey, I'm about to go for my annual exam, because then that will help break the ice. So then they know that they need to set an appointment to see about themselves. That's one thing that I learned from my mom. She went to the doctors if she had a hangnail, okay? It didn't matter what it was. She always made sure she saw about herself to make sure that nothing serious would happen. And even though that, with her journey with cancer, she saw about it right away. And even though it was missed, she still taught me that you still had to see about yourself, because in order to be a wife, a mom, and to have a career, you got to be healthy. So your health is priority in all of that. Absolutely love that. Let's transition now. We talked a lot about your professional side. Let's go a little bit more into your personal experiences. Now, you have had multiple people in your family that has dealt with cancer, breast cancer, and just other forms of cancer that runs in your family. But you had one that hit very close to you, which is your mom, and she actually battled breast cancer, as you mentioned earlier in the show. As a child of a survivor, tell us your journey of the whole process of just working through having your mom have cancer.
Yeah, and I think it's very important to think about survivorship is not necessarily the person with cancer, but also their family members and other people.
Absolutely.
That we survive the diagnosis, not necessarily the outcomes, which can be different. My mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, and it was stage 4 when she was diagnosed. I was 40 and my mother was 60, so we're about 20 years apart in that realm. So she was diagnosed, and then, of course, went through the whole process after finding the lump, and then the mammogram diagnosis, and then on for the treatment plan, which my mother's treatment plan was she had a mastectomy, chemo, radiation was her whole process, which she actually did very well with that whole treatment plan and survived the treatment and completed everything, and then started to develop some other complications with metastasis to other areas, her brain and other things, and then the subsequent decline, and then the loss of life for my mom, which was about a year and a half from her diagnosis.
Okay.
And all the time, my mom was constantly moving,
Mhm.
constantly doing. She never stopped living,
That's good.
because she wanted to do all she wanted to do. Unfortunately, it did not end up in a positive result as far as she was concerned. But I think for all of us at that time, I never thought that I would make it past that diagnosis, the
Mhm.
treatment, and then the loss of my mom. But it's been 21 years, hard to believe, but
Yeah,
21 years, and I think I'm a better person.
absolutely.
I'm a better survivor because of the loss.
I love it.
Mhm.
Um, and tribute to both of our moms. Mother's Day was yesterday,
Oh,
which can be a hard time for someone who is motherless. So, kudos to you for honoring your mom's legacy with all that you do, because that is being passed down. A piece of her is being passed down to your children, and then your children are
yes,
passing it down. So her memory continues to live on with that, and her message of how she fought through that year and a half about still living life. I say all the time that cancer, when you're battling, that it's as much as a mental and emotional journey as
yes,
well as a physical one. So for her to have the mindset as, listen, it is what it is, I'm going to still live it up because I don't know how much time I have left, and whatever God's will is, I
that's
still
right.
want to
Mhm.
live. And I love that. That's a powerful message for someone who's going through cancer currently, or someone who's thinking, someone who may go through remission, or just period. I think those are just great things to live by. When you're faced with adversity, you need to
Yeah,
live.
exactly.
With you now, being, I would assume, if I'm doing the math correctly, if it's been 21 years, you're now 61. So, or will be 61. When you are crossing the age of around the time that she passed away, does that do anything for you? Do you feel like you have accomplished something by passing that age, or did you approach it with anxiety, wondering like, okay, this was around the time my mom made it. Will this be my testimony?
Mhm.
Explain how you were feeling
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
situation.
So actually, my mother passed when she was 62
Okay.
years old, and I'm 63
Okay.
now, actually. So last year would have been the same age that my mother passed when I turned 62. Of course, I've been taking my mammograms and doing my exams. Definitely that age kind of creeps into your mind, but as you pass that, which now that I'm past that, I I'm not fearful of the diagnosis coming my way,
Mhm.
because I think that I'm just living my life, and
Yes.
people know that I live my life as if tomorrow something else might happen. So
Yes.
I think it's very important. It's not fear, it's faith in that I'm faithful that whatever He has for me is going to be mine. But I'm going to live each day as
Yes.
if it were could have been my last, or I might get some diagnosis tomorrow. I don't know, but
Mhm.
today it's okay because I'm going to live it.
I love that you talked about faith over fear. It is so important to have that,
Yeah.
because just that scenario could eat you up mentally.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, is this gonna happen to me? Oh my gosh, she had it, that means I'm
Yeah.
gonna have it. You're living proof that it may or may not happen. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? We don't wish cancer at anybody, but
Right.
someone who has a direct correlation to someone who has fought doesn't mean that that is going to be your testimony. And God forbid, if you do get it, that doesn't mean that you're going to pass away from it either. So to be able to still have that faith and to still have that positive mindset to live is so important. I cannot stress enough how important it is to
Yes.
have a positive mindset. So God forbid, if something does happen, I'm living proof that you can still live. There is one lady, her name is Sandy. We got to get her on the show that we both know. She's had cancer multiple times, had heart attack multiple times. And I mean, like stage 4. She was not 1, 2, or 3. She was stage 4 and had
Right.
multiple heart attacks. And she is still with us. She is a living testimony. So just because, and I know other people who have had lung cancer stage 4, and they lived for several years before they eventually succumbed to the illness. But we can't always approach cancer with fear all the
Yeah.
time, and fear is a natural response. So it's not to say that you won't have it. We're human, so it's natural to have that. However, is what you do with that information is what is important next.
Yes.
Are you going to say positive affirmations saying, I will live
Yep.
and not die? I am more than a conqueror. You have to speak life over your situation, because if not, you can go down a slippery slope. And I think as a survivor myself, I can see how when someone is diagnosed with cancer for the second or third time, of how it could be challenging because your mind is bringing you down. And sometimes how it's caught, sometimes the second and third time around, it's caught too late. And then if your mindset's not there, it could just really just be with you, because you have this survivor's thing, guilt. Like if you have a little lump, you're just like, oh my gosh, what's going
What is that?
on?
Right.
But still continue to see about yourself. Pastor LT Willis says, live, 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 live. There's a song says, you're going to live to see it happen. So speak those positive affirmations to yourself. Explain. Let's dive in more into that positive affirmation. Tell us how important it is to speak those positive affirmations in your life.
Yeah. I think it's very important to have a positive attitude. I think that we're not aware of how much stress and worry can wear us down. It wears down your normal body function. We were put together so miraculously when we were born. All the functions are there. It's what we do to the body that really affects us. So we want to make sure that we're staying on the positive side and not allowing that stress to wear down the body, because with that stress, your body can't live the life that it wants to live because you're worried about these other things. So I think it's very important to stay positive, stay looking toward the positive. Negative will only bring on negative. So positive will bring on positive. So stay positive and keep your mindset. The mind is such an important part of the whole process because it controls all the responses. So you want to make sure that your mind is staying positive and moving in the forward direction, not backwards. Or not a tear down mode. You want to be a build up, not tear down. So that's why it's important to have your mind lead that charge each day as you stay positive. And saying it makes it more of a reality. So whatever you speak, whether it's going to be positive or negative, so you might as well speak the positive so that the positive can return.
Absolutely. There's a reason when we drive that our front windshield is larger than our rear view mirror. So it's important to continue to march forward, as you said. That is so important. I want you to encourage a loved one who is their parent or aunt or uncle, someone that's very close to them, and they had to deal with the devastating blow of losing that loved one to cancer. Encourage them on how to continue to march forward when they feel like they have nothing to live for. They have nothing to look forward to because that individual was their world.
Yeah. And that, I think it's important to allow yourself to feel that. We all grieve loss. And a lot of times, the problem is that we don't allow ourselves to feel the loss. It's okay. You should feel the loss. How long does that take? Some people may take a few weeks, some people a few months, a few years. Whatever it is for you, allow yourself to have that time to feel the loss. But then once the loss has been appreciated, I think you have to make sure that, in my case, it was like, I want to make sure that my mom lives on.
Yes.
Her living on means that I have to live.
Mm-hmm.
So then I have to change that loss into what am I going to do to make sure that that person's life continues to go on.
Absolutely.
Me
Guys, break out
continuing.
the tissues because that is so powerful. Because some get into this dark space, and like you said, you're going to grieve. That's just,
Yes.
again, another natural human response. But I think it's important not to stay there. And I was watching the Red Table Talk with Jada Pickett Smith, and she had the guest of the young lady who committed suicide. She had her
Oh, yeah.
parents on,
Mhm.
and she mentioned something at the very end of her show that talked about you don't have to grieve in order to keep their memory alive.
Mhm.
Some people think that you have to keep this sense of sadness
Yeah.
in order to have their memory live on. And I thought that was very powerful for me because, you know, when I first lost both of my parents, and they died 82 days apart from each other. Um, I just didn't know how life was gonna go on. Like, I
Right.
legit just finished, like, today's May 9th, I just finished radiation, and then my mom, I was diagnosed with cancer the 23rd, and my mom died the 26th of May. So it was like, okay, I just finished my own journey, and then now I gotta process how to do all this. I
Yes.
didn't wanna eat. Um, I was, in a state where it was just really hard to talk.
Yeah.
But then also be there for our kids. you know that's the next thing when you are grieving your own parents loss, but then your kids also lost their grandparent, and then here we're trying to be superheroes and make
Yes.
sure that we are watching them as well. It's a lot to take in,
Hmm.
and I've learned over the years that I don't have to be sad in order to remember my parents. Excuse me, but I also don't have to feel guilty of not being sad.
Yeah.
That's the next thing too. Like,
Yes.
okay, if I'm not sad, then something's wrong. Like, I'm not doing this
Mhm.
grief thing right. And that's not the case.
Mhm.
Like, doing different things to honor their legacy is a way to honor all of that. And that's just so very, very important with that. So let's dive into the sorority, as well as your medical professional community. How do they support you through this whole journey, both professionally as well as just your personal tribulations that you went through in your life?
Yeah. I for my professional life, like I said, I have friends who are physicians from day one. At my arrival at Spelman College, there was a group of us, and we wanted to be physicians, and we traveled that journey together. And then even post Spelman, post med school, we are still there periodically. Although we don't see each other often, we're always supportive, and you can always kind of connect with them in order to feel that support. um, my sorority sisters, I've been in the sorority for 43 years.
Mhm.
I've met people on different levels. Of course, there are the people I started the journey with, and then the people that I've met since. Always in my corner. You have some people who are closer than you than others, but always the network is there.
Mhm.
Um, in my current chapter, we have several OBGYNs who are in the chapter of the sorority, and you can just see people there that can support you if you need to be supportive. And we're actually doing a panel later this month with the four of us in a sorority. We're going to be talking about Black women and maternal health. So,
Mm.
looking forward to being able to share that platform with them, but also to have them in the sorority with me so that we can be supportive in times like these as we're sharing information, but also if you needed some assistance or support, they will be there for you.
That's awesome. When the time goes on, we can invite all of you guys to the show to help promote that as well. So the promotion for that, so women can get the adequate information and resources needed for that. So that would be great for that. We got another familiar face on here. We got Lisa Dixon, and says watching. Great job, ladies. Thank you for watching. Beautiful. I love it. So let's talk about the positive circle for health and wellness. How did it come about, and what is your role in it?
Okay, so A positive circle is something that I've been thinking about and just developing over time. As you know, I've just 1 year out of private practice, but even prior to that, had the idea of wanting to create a space where people can support each other and one share information. You know, you always think like you're going through your journey all alone. You're the
Mm,
only person who had this happen to them, but that's not true. It's important to develop a circle of people around you that can support you and one, be positive. Remember, being positive is the key. We don't want to have those negative thoughts. We want to have positive influence. So creating a circle around you that's important, because you have to selectively put people in your circle. You don't want to have people in your circle who are negative. So creating a circle is something that I've decided to develop. Um, it's a work in progress.
mhm.
One, my own personal circle. I want to make sure that I'm creating a circle around me of people who are positive and who
Yes.
can help to move my health and my wellness forward. So, with that, from my small circle, I want to create a circle for other people and then invite people to create their own positive circle. Remember, you can't let people in who are going to be negative and affect your health. So you want to make sure you're creating those positive circles. So hopefully I'll be able to create that for others and one, be that support system or advocate that they need in order to make their lives healthier and definitely well.
Yes. You know, that is so powerful that you said about making sure that you keep positive people in your circle. So that translates to making sure that you are saying no to some people.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit more when you have to say no to whatever that it is that is not beneficial for you.
Yeah. And something that it's a work in progress. I'm also one of those people, as you know, if you're a giver, you're always giving, giving, giving. But I think it's
Mhm.
important, and something that I've had to learn as well is that you have to be able to say no. Um,
Yes.
you can't do for everyone as they're draining everything from you, then you don't have anything to give. So make sure that you're one, being able to weed out people that you need to weed
Mhm.
out, let in new people, but don't be afraid to put people at a distance. It's okay to put some people on the outer circle and
Mhm.
other people in the circle, but you're the control, and don't feel
Mhm.
bad about saying no. No is easy if you have learned to say that, but I know it's only two letters, but sometimes very hard to get out.
Yes.
But you want to make
Absolutely.
sure that you're trying to create that so that you're in control.
Mhm.
Don't let other people control your space. You're in control of your own space and be unapologetic about it. I'm sorry,
Absolutely.
but yeah, this is my answer.
Yes, and being
Together.
comfortable maneuvering people who once was in an inner circle back to an outer
Outer
circle
circle.
because, life has a way of, sometimes separating different things, because our experiences are different, and depending on your experiences, you may grow different, and due
Correct.
to that growth, it may be time to switch that because sometimes, when people are not exposed to certain things, their mentality is unable to connect with what you're now connected to. So
Mhm.
sometimes you gotta say, hey, we're still cool, but I just gotta, put you in a different area in my life right now because until you're able to really
Right.
connect to what I'm saying, it's not healthy for me to have you right there
Correct.
in my
Yes.
life.
And it's okay. It's okay.
Yes, and it is okay. We
Mhm.
are in the last 10 minutes of our show. I really enjoyed my time talking with you. This show always flies by every single time. But I want all of our listeners, all of our roses to know the different things that you're involved in. I know you are in Project 22. Explain a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Project 22 is a 501c3 foundation that's in its growth phase, but we are moving forward. We've always been involved in supporting student educational goals and giving out scholarships. We work in partnership with Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, the Inkster Alumni Chapter, for their scholarship, which is actually coming up in a couple of weeks. We'll be giving out scholarships for this year.
Sweet.
And we are one always looking forward to moving into new project areas. So we are always moving forward, but please, Project 22 is on Facebook. You can kind of look them up as they're increasing their journey. And currently I'm serving as a president, but as things change, we're hopeful that I will continue to always be involved, but I'm not sure that I'll always be the leader in that organization. But it's definitely something that I've been involved in for quite a while now. So I'm moving forward there.
That's awesome. Rhonda Glass says she is really enjoying this podcast. I can't talk today. I don't know what's going on, but I'm thankful for you again continuing to watch throughout the whole episode. So between Project 22 as well as the Positive Circle for Health and Wellness, is there anything else that's new that's coming for either one of those organizations?
The Positive Circle for Health and Wellness, I'm hoping to launch some areas where we can create the circles, but then also be available for one-on-one consultations with people regarding creating their circles and putting their wellness forward. So hopefully I'll be able to interject some of those individual consults in the future months.
Awesome. All right. So I want to drop her email address down here. So you see it right there on the bottom, iwjmd60@gmail.com. Or you could also email her at positivecircleforhealth@gmail.com. Also, make sure you guys follow her in these various channels. Facebook, you got Ingrid Wilson-Johnson, and also the Positive Circle for Health and Wellness. So make sure you like and follow that page so you are up to date with all of their notifications that of different posts and events that you have. So you can always be in the know about what's going on. Also, you may follow her on Instagram as Ingrid Wilson-Johnson, as well as on LinkedIn. She is everywhere, y'all. You got to follow her as Dr. Ingrid Johnson as well. We were talking about one day we may try to dabble into TikTok because that's another way to reach our audiences as well. But as for now, these are the channels that you can reach her on Facebook, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn. Is there any final comments that you want to share with a survivor, a caregiver, or any medical professionals on how to have conversations with survivors and their caregivers?
Yeah. I think that in this time where there's so much going on in the world, I think that we have to learn to, one, be supportive. It's so much happening. You don't know what people are going through in their lives. I think that we have to have a listening ear. Don't always be so quick to, we had this conversation before. You're thinking about your answer to my statement before I even finish.
Yes.
So let's listen and then offer support and positive influence to people. Don't always be trying to look for your comeback. How about just let people come in? I think that that's important, and just be receptive. We don't live on an island. We all are here to support each other.
Yes.
No man can do it by himself. And please don't try. It's not worth it to be alone.
Absolutely.
Create a nice circle of people that you can live, be positive, and enjoy life, because it's short. It can be very short.
Yes.
So enjoy it.
You just exude positivity. And I just think that it's just only fitting that this is your new venture because as the young kids will say, you walk it like you talk it. So I'm really excited about with each of the projects that you're involved in, just to see how it grows and the lives that's going to be impacted with this. This show has had a way of impacting other people just to either get mammograms or to see about themselves. And I'm totally confident that this is no different. And for them to be able to see on a professional level how they could connect with their provider, but then on the flip side too, how a provider could connect to their patient as well. We have your sister on here. She said, "I see you, Sister Ingrid." And then also your daughter said, "Check you out, Ma. Look, they are so proud of you being able to share your story." I really enjoyed our time today. Did you?
I did too. Yes, I did. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Oh, again, as we are getting ready to close out the show, I want to be able to make sure that If you want to connect with me again, there's survivorscorner.net, and there's the different ways you can reach me on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Obviously, if you're on LinkedIn, you see me on LinkedIn as well. But then also, I couldn't do any of these things without your help. So I always ask, seek, and you may receive. So I get different donations from individuals who have it on their heart to kind of support Survivors Corner. One of the ways that we give back is like one of the shirts that you see behind me. Every time someone buys a shirt, one gets automatically donated for free to a cancer survivor who's actively going through treatment. So that's one of the ways that you can do it. If you don't want a shirt and you just want to be able to sow a seed, so then we can just have extra shirts to send out, or even for styling, because that's something that I help with as well, because not all survivors know how to style themselves. I truly believe that you should dress the way that you feel. That helps with that positivity with that. So make sure you do all of those different things to do that. And lasting words, in the words of Dr. Ingrid Wilson-Johnson, make sure you continue to march forward and to continue to keep that positive circle. So until next time, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Next week, we have another survivor, Erica, who's going to join us, and just stay tuned, and we'll see you then. Take care, guys.